Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on episode 18 of Dungeon Meshi. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. Alright, so last we left off, things were in a bit of a dire state. You know, the fractious coalition between Laius and everybody else, they've sort of gone their own separate ways, and now Laius and the others are continuing downwards in search of Fallen. I'm reminded in a way of The Lord of the Rings, where the Fellowship sort of falls apart. You know, the circumstances are, not so dire in this, but I don't know, I think it's a decent point of comparison. Especially because it seems like they're now progressing into territory that's considerably less traveled than the upper floors. I do find it interesting that there's snow in the dungeon. I mean, I guess it's indicative that the dungeon really is a magical place, considering that, it can actually have, precipitation and things like that in what should ostensibly be an enclosed space. And I guess things are also kind of convenient. The snow makes for, maybe not easy, but reasonable tracking. Things leave tracks in the snow, and I guess, blood staining the snow would also leave a pretty good trail. So I guess it is unfortunate that that whole bluff about killing the Mad Mage came up, just because it really does seem like a bluff more than anything else. I mean, I don't think Laius and the others really have a good method of fighting him. The dragon was one thing, but yeah, I don't know. It's not good, that's for sure. And I guess this is sort of going back to that painting again. Delgul was the king that Laius interacted with a few times. Oh! Okay, so I'm pretty sure... Yeah, he was that guy early on that, turned to dust. So that's interesting. So all this is sort of connecting together in a weird sort of way, because, I mean, at least initially, I just thought the paintings were a little bit of fun, but it seems like they're far more significant than anybody really gave them credit for. Wow. Okay, so he's actually just oh, dear. Man, that's something alright. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, I bumped into the Mad Mage. Alright, so that is interesting too. You know, this sort of disparity in the lifespan of elves. So it seems like, I guess maybe the Mad Mage is sort of, exceptional, I guess. Perhaps because of dark magic. Yeah, you know, unfortunately I'm with Chilchuck on this. I don't think explaining things to the Mad Mage is going to work. You know, you don't get a title like the Mad Mage by being reasonable and open to dialogue. Wow. You know, for there to be a blizzard like this in the dungeon, that is rather not good. And speaking of not good, somebody else just grabbed Marcel's hand. That, Don't know what to make of that. Probably a monster. But I just think it's interesting that there would be, like, a blizzard in the dungeon, because precipitation is already interesting, but, like, an out-and-out blizzard. Alright, so I guess we're gonna find out whatever was going on. I guess it's interesting that they've somehow... Oh. I was gonna say it's interesting that they've traveled into a prison, but I guess it's also interesting that there are all sorts of doppelgangers now. And they're all drawn in a slightly different style. So I feel like, it's nice that for us, the audience, we can kind of tell them apart, but... Man. I wonder how they're gonna work this out, seeing as how they're outnumbered 3-1 effectively. So I mean, like, suppose these doppelgangers are all in cahoots, like, that's, those are bad odds, you know, if things suddenly hit the fan. Yeah, you know, I feel like it is pretty easy to pick out some of the imposters, if only for Lias. You know, there are some Marcels and some Senshis that are pretty, you know, standoffish. Or, they stand out, rather. But, like Chilchuck in particular, a lot of them seem to, match up. At least, you know, by and large. There are little slight differences here and there. I find it interesting that once an imposter's been called out, they aren't just, thrown out. You know, I feel like, maybe that would be the opportunity to fight back. Oh. Very astute of Chilchuck. I guess it's interesting that, the doppelgangers are pulled from the memories of the other people, so, like, you know, if you're sort of forgetful or you have a poor memory, the people adopting personas based on your memories look kind of vague. I think that's, rather interesting, and I guess it does make sense in a way, but at the same time... I don't know, it's a little convenient, I guess. Okay, so I feel like they should be able to point out some of those imposters pretty easily. Like, I feel like that Chilchuck on the right, like, his features are too rounded, you know? Ooh. Yeah, I think that one's a fake, and, I don't remember what Marcel's hairstyle was like, but I think the one in the middle is the fake. Huh. Okay, so that's, I guess, the interesting thing, you know, pick the real one based on information only the real one would know. But at the same time... Yeah, I mean, I guess that is true. Like, obviously fake magic proves it. But at the same time, I feel like, if it's something only the real Marcel would know to be true, how do the other people verify that? Yeah, so I guess that's interesting, having knowledge of your party members' equipment allows you to suss out the real ones and the fake ones. But that's not a foolproof strategy, because if you know it too well, the fake that's pulled from your memories will be that much harder to scrutinize. Okay. So I guess this does make sense. The last thing you can really do is put them in a situation where they could potentially react differently. And I guess the problem is they are relying on Laius' skills of observation, which, they were right, considering how he interacted with Shuro. Maybe his intuition shouldn't be trusted. I guess really the only hope here is that Laius is actually like a savant and he can just pick up these minute differences while cooking. Man. I mean, I guess the one good thing is that he truly is above suspicion because all the other ones were so obviously fake. Now, I do have to wonder, oh, there we go. So everybody's cooking in pairs with their counterparts. I feel like that's not a good way to make a meal, I feel like really only Senshi is going to be able to cook something competently. Yeah, I do think the one on the left is the real one. I don't know why precisely Laius is making note of where they were sitting. Yeah, I do think that is interesting for Chilchuk to ask for help opening a jar. I mean, that wouldn't strike me as a thing that Chilchuk would do. I find it interesting that they're saying, ooh, this Chilchuk is too cynical. Yeah, I also think that this Chilchuk here, who's sort of, being nervous about everything... Yeah, that doesn't strike me as Chilchuk behavior. Ooh. So this Marcel's complaining about humanoid monster food, which, makes sense. Yeah, I do think Marcel would raise a stink about things, even in principle. And that this one is so, I guess, interested in saving Fallen that... I mean, it does fit, I guess, but... Marcel just seems to be the type to complain about this sort of thing, even if she is willing to do it ultimately. And plus, I do think the hair. I think the hair was really a dead giveaway. I mean, with Senshi, it's just obvious, I can tell visually which one is the imposter immediately. Yeah, I do have reason to doubt Laius here, seeing as how he seems to be getting along with the imposter Senshi. Yeah, I'm not sure if Laius' plan is really going to get them anywhere. Oh. Oh, Marcel. Is Senshi B kind of good looking? And, I mean, maybe. See, the problem is, she's right, that Senshi is an imposter, but at the same time, I feel like that should be grounds for, throwing Marcel in that jail cell. Ooh. Yeah, it's bad. It's real bad. Laius screwed the pooch. Man, I wonder, what is the actual resolution going to be? Surely the monsters would have to, put some of Laius and company out of commission and try to, get things done. Okay, so it seems like ultimately, oh. Okay, so Laius was, 100%... Oh no, what? Hold on. I think he correctly identified the grouping, but, I thought he was going to say, hey, all you guys who are real, get in the cage, but... Okay, and he was going in on a hunch. Oh boy. Is this just going to be a battle to the death here, and whoever wins is the real party member now? Is that just where we're going with this? Oh. Oh, that's interesting. The monsters wouldn't be able to cook and they just sort of generate an illusion. I guess that makes sense for monsters to have a skill like that. They wouldn't really need it if they just eat people, Man, finally Laius is actually thinking a little bit about, how can we suss out these monsters that are pretending to be us? Alright. So I'm not sure where Laius is going with this. He's deciding not to use his sword to fight this predatory monster, and... Okay, just go in goblin mode. Alright. I'm wondering if this will sort of prove to be the distraction, his real party members need to gain the upper hand. Wow. And that's a pretty good impression of a dog, too. I recognize they probably got an actual dog for this, but... Man. Alright. So, I guess that was sufficient to break the illusion, and it seems like, Laius was ultimately correct in dividing the two groups. But, oh wow. A nine-tailed fox, it looks like. That's not a critter you want to mess around with lightly. And you know what, I hate to say it, but I feel like Laius is taking the monster lightly here by engaging in hand-to-hand combat. I hate to say it, but Marcel had the right idea. And, wow. I guess we're just going with Gore again, blowing the head clean off. Wow. Yeah, there are a lot of questions to be answered here. Like, if you're fighting a monster, why don't you draw your sword? Surely that would be more effective, right? Man, so I guess time for a real meal, I guess. Whatever food there was, plus that fox demon. Alright, so Lais actually had, like, solid intuition in the end. Chilchuck sitting on a box that could have been, like, a good hiding place for a mimic. Another Senshi seemingly not caring about the balance of the ecosystem. The other Marcel just willing to eat the eggs and throwing away the boiling water, even though that was what caused a problem before. Yeah, one would think, if nothing else, that would be a lesson Marcel had thoroughly learned. Wow. So, like, he did actually have, some decent observations. He just sort of didn't really put it all together. I guess that is interesting, that this is one of those evolutionary things where, like, the monster relies on illusions, but without that, it's kind of up the river without a paddle. Oh, Marcel doesn't know. Ooh. Man, that's gotta be a rude awakening to have eaten fishman eggs unwittingly. Eesh. Man, that's like finding out the pork chops you ate weren't pork. Ooh boy. So unfortunately, it seems like something might have made off with some of their stuff. So despite catching the monster and having a nice little meal, this isn't the end. Ooh. Okay, so a new interloper. Interesting. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.